Everyone's saying that Tyron's a lot better than Askren. Do you think so?
Yeah, for sure. But like, again, he's not as good as me.
Jake Paul isn't going to give Dana White, the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, a break, especially when it comes to fighter compensation. Paul, who recently signed a deal to fight former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley later this year, may not appear to be the most probable person to speak out against underpaid UFC fighters. However, as he continues to infiltrate the landscape, the YouTube sensation is beginning to speak out against the world of combat sports as his popularity and following expand. In today's video, we are going to discuss Jake Paul and the controversy he has been creating with the UFC world by firing at Dana White, UFC president. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Who is Jake Paul? Jake Joseph Paul is a YouTuber, internet personality, actor, rapper, and professional boxer from the United States. He first gained notoriety on Vine before starring in the Disney Channel sitcom Bizaardvark for 2 seasons as Dirk Man. Paul has been involved in numerous controversies throughout his career as a result of his actions, including performing dangerous stunts and uploading age-inappropriate material to YouTube, being fired from his Disney television show Bizaardvark, and being charged with criminal trespass and unlawful assembly. He has also since started a professional boxing career, having come out victorious the majority of the time. He has made incredible money from this opportunity. We're talking 7 to 8 figures, which is no wonder why he is sticking with it while also creating drama and issues with UFC president Dana White, a very prominent name in the industry. Who is Dana White? Dana Frederick White Jr., born July 28, 1969, is the current president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, the world's largest mixed martial art MMA organization. The UFC has developed into a multi-billion-dollar global phenomenon under White's leadership. White's net worth was estimated to be $500 million as of August 2019. White met Bob Meyeritz, the owner of Semaphore Entertainment Group, the parent company of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, while working as a manager for Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. When White learned that Meyeritz was trying to sell the UFC, he reached out to his childhood buddy Lorenzo Fertitta, an executive and co-founder of Station Casinos as well as a former commissioner of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, to see if he was interested in buying it. Lorenzo and his older brother Frank bought the UFC for $2 million in January 2001, and it later became a subsidiary of Zuffa. White was named president of the corporation. Due to McGregor's deal with the UFC, White entered the boxing world by co-promoting Floyd Mayweather Jr. vs. Conor McGregor. White announced in October 2017 at Freddie Roach's Wildcard West boxing gym that he was 100% getting into boxing. White has stated that he wants to add boxing into the UFC's repertoire. What is going on between the two? The public feud between UFC and YouTube sensation Jake Paul does not appear to be going away anytime soon. At his UFC 261 post-fight press conference on Saturday, UFC President Dana White attacked Paul and Triller, stating the firm lied about its pay-per-view buys and how much money Paul made for fighting Ben Askren earlier this month. The numbers are there? Nah, I don't know if the numbers are there, White said. Do you know what would happen to this guy in the UFC? He ain't fighting in the UFC. He's getting hand-picked opponents, and God knows what else is going on with that whole thing. There is a market for that. That is not what I do. That's not what I do. People want to see that, and it's great. And this kid's going to make a couple bucks before this ride is over. It's just not what I do. What I do is what happened tonight. What happened tonight is we sold this place out, and it was packed, and the numbers that you're hearing Triller did, they're full of crap. They're full of crap, okay? They didn't pull those kinds of numbers at all, not even close. What happened here tonight is what I do, the best versus the best. Paul, who stunned Askren with a spectacular knockout, was on hand for UFC 261 in Jacksonville. He drew the attention of UFC analyst and former 2-division champion Daniel Cormier, with whom he had a Twitter feud earlier this week. Cormier and Paul were seen exchanging words, with Cormier going out of his way to confront Paul. Paul later retaliated on social media after hearing what White had to say about him following the fights. Dana, you claimed you would bet $1 million on me losing. Set up Askren to train with Freddie Roach, gave him full access to the UFC Performance Institute, and he still got his butt handed to him. Seems like you are the real idiot, not Ariel. In my third fight, I made more in total pay than any fighter in UFC history. Maybe it's time to pay your fighters their fair share. No wonder they all want to get into boxing. Dana, you said you make the fights fans want to see? So hurry up and make John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Pay them their fair share. $10 million purse for each guy plus pay-per-view. Why are UFC fighters so underpaid versus boxers? Why did I make more money in my third fight than all but 2, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor, UFC fighters have in history? I know why. Controversy surrounding UFC underpaying their fighters. Jake Paul and Triller Fight Club are without a doubt two of the most polarizing figures in today's combat sports. Far more polarizing than any of the UFC greatest of all time debates or disagreements over Aljamain Sterling and knees to a downed opponent. While we aren't supporters of Triller, Jake Paul, or what they stand for, they may have an unexpected benefit. Jon Jones, the former UFC light heavyweight champion, recently sparked controversy when he requested a significant pay hike in order to fight heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. Former UFC athletes have also stated that the organization offers extremely little money to its fighters in comparison to the cash made from an event, which has opened up a can of worms. Jimmy Flick, a promising prospect, announced his surprise retirement after only one UFC bout, claiming that fighter compensation is awful and that UFC fighters will never form a union for a brighter future. Given how the corporation has expanded over the last 10 years, along with the sport, fighter pay has become a contentious topic. If you ask Dana White, he'll tell you that the money his company pays its fighters smokes what you see in boxing, referring to how the numbers on a boxing night drop dramatically between the headlining fighters and the rest of the undercard. Obviously, the pay in MMA and the UFC has increased dramatically in recent years, but is it truly such a significant increase that it can not only compete with but even surpass the pay in boxing? When making such a comparison, it seems only reasonable to look at the ordinary UFC fighters and boxers, men who compete on the bottom tier, alternating between the undercard and the lower tiers of the main card. The sums earned by the top athletes in each sport are incomparable. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr., as well as former fighters Oscar De La Hoya and Muhammad Ali, have all made significantly more money than their UFC counterparts. After all, the exception is not the rule, and not every UFC competitor on a pay-per-view gets the large cash, thus not all UFC competitors should be seen as reaping such benefits. It's not like it was in the 1950s when a boxer, big name or not, could fight as many as 14 times per year, if not more. The typical athlete now fights 4 to 7 times a year, with the UFC fighting even fewer times due to the sheer size of their roster relative to the number of available slots on a given pay-per-view or Fox card in a calendar year. Just recently, Frank Mir revealed in an interview that his fight with Brock Lesnar drew more pay-per-view buys than Tyson Fury's boxing showdown with Deontay Wilder. Mir, on the other hand, said that he and Lesnar earned a tenth of what Fury and Wilder did. Although boxing has been around for much longer than MMA, this isn't the only reason UFC fighters are paid less than boxers. Frank Mir also made his boxing debut through Triller Fight Club on the Jake Paul vs. Ben Askren preliminary show. Aside from champions, no fighter on a UFC show gets a cut of the pay-per-view income, and they also don't get any from gate sales. In 2020, Jon Jones appeared on Steve-O's show and stated that UFC athletes get paid a bare minimum from apparel sales. When you watch this, you'll notice that he's been talking about a greater salary for quite some time. Despite their flaws, Jake Paul and Triller have the potential to make a significant change in the way the UFC president views his fighters' contracts and pay scales. Nobody saw this coming, and it's unlikely it will ever happen given Dana White's obstinacy and command over the UFC and its athletes. Regardless of how much we like Jake Paul, if he and Triller unintentionally modify UFC fighter pay, it will earn him our admiration. There you have it. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss any of our new and upcoming content. Thanks for watching.